The man took off the cross-shaped locket that had been keeping the darkness within him in check. Straight away, angelic wings burst forth from his back. Those wings, now out of control, began to carry him directly upwards towards the sky. But as soon as he reached halfway, the wings suddenly started to shatter and flames engulfed him. As he crashed violently back down to the ground, demonic horns began to sprout from his head. With screams echoing all around him, a lord of hell, shrouded in scattered lava, was born. This dreadful transformation befell the man because the woman he truly loved had died under mysterious circumstances. To uncover the real murderer, he struck a bargain with a demon from hell, selling his soul in exchange for power. 3 days earlier, he had been planning to propose to his girlfriend, but at the very moment he confessed his feelings, she suddenly revealed that she had fallen in love with someone else. The man could not bear it and lost control of himself then and there. His extreme reaction frightened his girlfriend and she left the place. She had no idea that this farewell would be their last. The next day, he received the news that his girlfriend had been murdered. As the two of them had had a heated argument in the restaurant the previous night, he immediately fell under suspicion. In the days that followed, the neighbours, the media, and even his own parents began to believe that he was the killer. Broken and disturbed, he quietly went to his girlfriend's memorial gathering late at night. He thought that perhaps he would find some peace there, but when he heard her father's tearful speech, his heart broke even more. After everyone had left, in a fit of anger, he kicked the statue there and smashed everything around it. He had no idea that he had accidentally awakened a dangerous power from hell. The next morning when he woke up, he saw that horns had grown out of his head. Strangely, the people around him did not seem surprised when they saw them. And even stranger than that, whenever someone came close to him, they would start speaking the truth without meaning to. If physical contact happened, he could even see what the other person was thinking. But at that moment, the only thing the man wanted was for a doctor to quickly cut off the horns from his head. He still had not realized that these very powers could lead him to the killer of his girlfriend. The next day, Ignatius goes to a doctor to have the strange horns on his head removed. Surprisingly, the doctor does not seem shocked at all when he shows them. Instead, she calmly hands him a form and asks him to fill it out. While Ignatius sits in the waiting area completing the form, a woman and her young daughter are also sitting nearby. The little girl keeps shouting loudly and causing a disturbance. Frustrated, the woman angrily mutters that she should kick her daughter because she's bothering everyone around them. Unknown to her, the strange power of Ignatius's horns is forcing people to speak their hidden thoughts out loud. After finishing the form, Ignatius hands it to the receptionist. The receptionist politely asks him if he would like her to send the woman and her daughter outside since they seem to be disturbing him. She then asks them to leave the area. The woman becomes furious and slams her hand against the glass counter. Ignatius quickly grabs her hand to stop her. The moment he touches her, he suddenly senses that she is secretly involved in an affair with someone. Embarrassed and angry, the woman immediately jerks her hand away and storms off. As they leave, the little girl angrily blurts out that she hates her mother and even wishes she could set her on fire in bed. Soon after, Ignatius meets the doctor. Just like the others, the doctor does not seem particularly concerned about the horns, as if seeing something like this is completely normal. Ignatius insists that he wants them removed immediately. The doctor prepares for the procedure and gives him anesthetic, causing him to lose consciousness. While unconscious, Ignatius begins to recall the first time he met Merin in a church and how their friendship gradually developed into a close relationship over the years. When he wakes up, however, he realizes that nothing has changed. The horns are still there. The doctor is nowhere to be seen, apparently busy with something else. Ignatius starts to feel frustrated, believing that all the strange things happening in his life are somehow connected to these horns. Later, he goes to meet his friend Lee. During their conversation, Ignatius realizes something shocking. Lee cannot see the horns at all. This makes Ignatius wonder if the horns are only visible to certain people. He starts to think that perhaps they only appear to people who have something wrong inside them, while good and virtuous people cannot see them. Confused and disturbed, Ignatius returns home and tries to talk to his mother about what he is going through. Instead of showing concern, she reacts coldly and oddly. She bluntly tells him that she does not want to hear about his problems and even cruelly says that it would have been better if he had never been born. The harsh words leave Ignatius deeply hurt. He then goes to his father and asks if he is also going to have a go at him, but his father's response shocks him even more. His father accuses him of killing Merin, saying that she was a good girl and his close friend. Ignatius immediately denies the accusation. He desperately asks why his father does not trust him and why he would ever kill someone he cared about so much. However, his father refuses to believe him. He then reveals something shocking. He had burned down the laboratory where the investigation was taking place so that all the evidence would be destroyed and Ignatius would remain safe. Instead of feeling relieved, Ignatius becomes furious. He shouts that by destroying the lab, his father may have destroyed the very evidence that could have proved his innocence and exposed the real killer. Angry and frustrated, Ignatius storms out of the house. He calls his friend Lee and tells him everything that has just happened. While walking through the streets, Ignatius suddenly notices several press reporters following him, trying to get a statement about the murder case. Trying to escape them, Ignatius enters a club where one of his friends used to work as a waitress. Inside the club, something strange happens again. The owner casually admits that he actually hopes the club burns down one day so he can claim the insurance money. Just like before, the horns are forcing people to reveal their hidden thoughts. Taking advantage of the situation, Ignatius asks everyone in the club if anyone knows anything about Merrin's murder. One man speaks up and says that his cousin works in the police department and has heard about a new witness in the case. According to him, the witness is a waitress who served drinks to Ignatius and Merrin on the night of the incident. She claimed that Ignatius dragged Merrin away from the place that night. Hearing this, Ignatius finally realizes who gave the false statement against him. And strangely, this discovery makes him feel calmer because he now knows where the accusation came from. Later, when he returns to his car, he takes out a ring he had planned to give Merrin. Looking at it brings back painful memories of that night. On the night Merrin died, Ignatius had planned to propose to her. He'd even invited his friend Lee and his brother to secretly be there to witness the moment. That night, they all met at a place where a waitress served them drinks. But before Ignatius could even say anything about the proposal, Merrin suddenly told him that they should break up because she did not believe their relationship would last. The words completely crushed Ignatius. He reminded her that they had promised since childhood that they would marry each other someday. Heartbroken and angry, he stormed out of the place. The next morning, while Ignatius was near his car, police officers approached him and informed him that Merrin had been murdered. To make matters worse, they told him that he was now the main suspect in the case. Determined to clear his name, Ignatius later confronts the waitress who had given the statement. Under pressure, she finally admits the truth. She lied about what happened because she wanted attention and fame from the media. Ignatius tells her that her statement is useless anyway because there are other pieces of evidence that can prove he never dragged Merrin away that night. Soon after, Ignatius meets his brother, who finally reveals another shocking truth. He admits that on the night of the murder, he was actually the one who drove Merrin home. Hearing this, Ignatius completely loses his temper and starts beating his brother, demanding to know why he did not reveal this during the police interrogation. As he listens to his brother's explanation, Ignatius begins piecing together what might have happened that night. His brother had taken Merrin in his car, but he had unknowingly been drugged. Because of his odd behavior, Merrin decided to get out of the car and walk into a nearby wood. Ignatius's brother then fell asleep in the car. When he finally woke up later, his clothes were stained with blood, and a large stone covered in blood was lying beside him. Terrified and confused, he looked towards the wood and saw Merrin's lifeless body lying there. At that moment, he could hardly believe what he was seeing. Ignatius's brother panics after seeing Merrin's lifeless body in the wood. Afraid of being blamed for the murder, he quickly takes the blood-stained stone in his clothes and throws them into a nearby lake to destroy the evidence. When Ignatius hears this, he becomes furious and accuses his brother of killing Merrin. At that moment, the police arrive and arrest Ignatius. However, the next day, his loyal friend Lee manages to get him released. While talking to Lee, Ignatius notices something odd. Lee is wearing a crucifix necklace, the very same crucifix that Merrin used to wear. Shocked, Ignatius asks him where he got it from. Lee replies casually that Merrin herself had given it to him. Confused and hurt, Ignatius asks why she would give such a personal item to him when she was in a relationship with Ignatius. That is when Lee reveals a shocking truth. He tells Ignatius that he is the man for whom Merrin had planned to leave him. This revelation crushes Ignatius from within. He begins to feel that both his girlfriend and his best mate had betrayed him behind his back. Angry and desperate for answers, Ignatius drives to Merrin's father and asks if Merrin had ever mentioned another man. But her father firmly denies it. He says that Merrin only ever spoke about Ignatius and truly loved him. Still believing Ignatius to be the murderer, he angrily tells him to leave before he shoots him. Heartbroken and confused, Ignatius drives to a remote spot and desperately tries to pull the horns out of his head, but they are firmly rooted and refuse to budge. Suddenly, he notices several snakes slowly slithering towards him. The snakes are strangely drawn to him because of the horns. For the first time, Ignatius realizes something important. The horns are not a curse, they are a power. Through them, it can sense people's hidden truths and even influence the world around him. Now, embracing this strange power, Ignatius goes to confront the waitress who had falsely testified against him. As he approaches her, the snakes around him suddenly attack and bite her repeatedly. Ignatius simply walks away, leaving her to face the consequences of her lies. Soon, the police begin chasing him, but Ignatius manages to escape using his new abilities. He then goes to see his brother. There, he finds that his brother has become heavily addicted to drugs. Using his supernatural power, Ignatius forces him to take even more drugs, pushing him to the brink of a fatal overdose. Watching him suffer reminds Ignatius of Merrin's lifeless body. For a moment, he considers reporting everything to the police and letting his brother die. But in the end, he cannot bring himself to do it. Despite everything, he still saves him. The next day, Lee visits Ignatius and coldly tells him that the breakup with Merrin was her own decision and had nothing to do with him. Ignatius suddenly attacks Lee and rips the crucifix from his neck. The moment the crucifix is removed, Ignatius begins to see disturbing visions. He realizes that the crucifix Merrin gave Lee had been protecting him from the supernatural effects of the horns, but now Lee is completely exposed. Overcome with rage, Ignatius begins to strangle him. As he does so, terrifying memories start to surface in his mind. He imagines the night when he and Merrin broke up. After Ignatius stormed off, Lee had been secretly watching everything from his car. When Ignatius, his brother, later drove Merrin home, Lee followed him. Lee saw that Ignatius' brother had passed out because of drugs. Merrin got out of the car and walked into the forest alone. That was when Lee approached her. Merrin was shocked and asked him what he was doing there. Lee angrily reminded her that she had promised to leave Ignatius for him, but Merrin confessed that she had made a mistake. Despite everything, she still loved Ignatius and could never truly leave him. Hearing this, Lee became furious. He attacked her violently. Merrin tried to defend herself and even bit his hand, but Lee grabbed a nearby stone and struck her on the head. The blow killed her instantly. Lee then cunningly placed the blood-stained stone near Ignatius' brother so that he would be blamed for the murder. After revealing this horrifying truth, Lee suddenly attacks Ignatius and pours petrol on his car, setting it alight. However, Ignatius manages to escape by driving the burning car straight into the water and jumping out. Soon, the news spreads everywhere that Ignatius died when his car sank into the lake. Since his body is never found, everyone believes he's gone. Meanwhile, his brother is admitted to hospital in a critical condition because of the drug overdose. But Ignatius is not there. In the next scene, he's seen emerging from the water, still alive. In his injured and exhausted state, he goes directly to Merrin's father and finally reveals the real killer, Lee. Ignatius then returns the crucifix to him, but Merrin's father tells him that he needs it more than anyone. When Ignatius puts the crucifix back on, his appearance returns to normal and the horns finally disappear. Later, Ignatius goes to the old tree house where he and Merrin used to spend time together. There, he discovers a letter written by Merrin. The letter says that he would only read it after her death. In the letter, Merrin reveals the heartbreaking truth. She had been diagnosed with terminal cancer and knew she did not have much time left. She did not want Ignatius to waste his life caring for someone who would soon die. That is why she decided to push him away and end their relationship, even though she still loved him deeply. Reading the letter, Ignatius finally understands why she tried to leave him. Determined to bring about justice, he goes to his brother and tells him that Lee is the real murderer. Ignatius promises that Lee will be punished no matter what. His brother insists on helping him. Since Lee has lost parts of his memory, he does not remember what happened that night. Taking advantage of this, Ignatius brings him to the same forest where Merrin was killed. There, Ignatius confronts him and reveals that he knows the truth, that Lee murdered Merrin. Lee pretends to be innocent, but Ignatius refuses to listen to any more lies. Soon, the police and Ignatius' brother also arrive at the scene, and a violent confrontation ensues. During the chaos, Ignatius' foot is injured, and a police officer is accidentally killed. In the struggle, Ignatius is forced to remove the crucifix for a moment. The instant the crucifix comes off, the horns return, and Ignatius transforms into a terrifying devil-like creature. Lee panics and shoots at him, but the bullets have no effect. Ignatius retaliates by stabbing his horns into Lee's abdomen, seriously injuring him. Then something even more horrifying happens. A snake slithers into Lee's wound, and another snake controls it from outside. The snake crawls down into his body through his mouth and stomach, punishing him for his crimes. Lee finally dies as a result of his own evil actions. But Ignatius never gets the chance to put the crucifix back on. Slowly, his body begins turning to stone right in front of his brother. Within moments, he completely transforms into a lifeless statue. However, in the final moments of the story, Ignatius is shown reunited with Merrin in peace and happiness. And with that, the story finally comes to an end.